Okay, so I've got it all lined up nicely, tacked together. It was stable enough that I could then put it on edge. And I like to solder the inside of the lamp first, the inside seams where they join together. So I've got my flux. I use a gel flux, and the only negative with a gel flux or a liquid flux is it's very easy to spill it. So what I do is I take some and I put it into a smaller container, so I can then put that aside. And I used to like to use an envelope moistener, but with this material I find that the flux brush works the best. So I get some flux on the brush, I go along, I flux that inside seam, and if you have large gaps, then I would recommend that you use 50-50 solder first of all to flat solder it. So I will just, these seams are very tight though, so I'm just going to go directly to 60-40 solder because I think I can do it in one motion rather than two. The outside I think I might use the 50-50 first, just because it's going to be a bigger gap to deal with. So wipe my iron on the sponge. Since it's been sitting there for a while, it cools it down a bit, plus gets off the dross. Unroll some solder, put it in there, put your iron right on the solder seam, and draw towards you. And this isn't much of a seam, so I really don't need much solder, so every once in a while I have to pull it away, or I'm going to get quite a bit more than I need. And at this point I would just go right past wherever you have your solder seams joining the two pieces together, and then later on I will come back and I'll touch up where they all join. And just go right off the edge. Again, we'll touch up those edges as we go along. So if you want to do some touch-ups, what I like to do is just go along one drop at a time, and slowly but surely. This is a time you don't really want to rush too much. If you don't take your time now to do a nice neat job, you just spend a lot more time later on trying to fix up solder seams. Okay, so I have all four of the inside seams beaded now. As you notice, I usually use I have lots of masking tape rolls around, so I put a small lamp like this. Whether it's 6-sided or 4-sided, I find that I can put a couple of rolls of masking tape underneath there just to keep this horizontal, like that. You could also, if you wanted to, just have a couple of pieces of 2x4, they work just as well, or anything you've got around the house that's about the right size. To do the outside, I find that a box with crushed paper in it, whether it's a plastic box or a cardboard box, works really well. So if you have enough paper in there, you can compress it as necessary to get your piece horizontal. And if you don't have your piece horizontal, what happens is the solder will just keep rolling off of it. So in this case, I've got it pretty good. Some people, if you're not sure, you could actually take a level to make sure. But we're going to find out pretty fast whether this is going to be horizontal or not. If it's not, the solder will just roll off. So we take our flux again, and if you find that you're getting a lot of bubbling, that means you have too much flux. So often what I do when I take the flux out of the bottle, I usually wipe it off so that I just have a smear on here and I don't have a real big excess amount on there and a big glob. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use 50-50 solder to first of all go over this, and this is a pretty wide seam. So what I want to do is just quickly go along and fill in the hole. And again, I'm not going to worry about those joins, and I'm not going to worry about the end. Then I'm going to take my 60/40 solder, which is conveniently placed over here, and I will now use the 60/40 to get a nice round bead. So often, as I do with the rest of it, I was showing you when I do the touch-ups, I often just like to go along and drop it like this, rather than pulling it. I find that I will often get a little nicer seam. Although there's nothing wrong with pulling it also, you can give that a try. So all in all, I'm quite happy with that. Anything that I want to touch up, I can just go back. I might need a drop of solder somewhere, add it. So once, you can tell when the solder has solidified, you get a little bit of it just kind of looks like cloud going across it. It'll be really shiny and then it'll go slightly duller. And when it's slightly duller, that means you can now move it and again do our touch-ups where the pieces come together. So I have the lamp completely soldered inside and out. Done all my touch-ups. I went along, I touched up the bottom, touched wherever the pieces joined together. The top you can tin if you want to, like I did the bottom. I generally don't. I'm not sure why. Perhaps I'm just lazy, but you can't see it anyway. So, but it doesn't hurt. You know, maybe it makes sense to take that extra minute or two and go along and tin it. But I wouldn't build up the solder on the edge because it may actually impede the way the vase cap will go on. Vase caps are made out of brass. Brass is the material that is the easiest to form and also takes solder nicely. So when you get a vase cap, it's all brass like this end is. What we like to do is to get a thin layer of solder on it so that everything matches, and later on when I put the black patina on, it will look the same on the solder seams of the lamp as it does on the vase cap. So I've done 3 of the 4 sides here. The way to do it is to flux the cap, and this takes very little solder. All you need to do is get a couple of drops of solder, start at the top. It's important to keep moving around your fume trap here, and very slowly just let it heat up. And as the brass heats, it's very easy to just move that small amount of solder down. And notice that I haven't added any solder yet. That couple of drops that I started with has been adequate to get me all this way. You'll find your grossing pliers really handy to pick up your hot vase cap so you can finish the very edge of it. Because we don't want to leave any brass showing. When we're finished, we want it all to turn a nice black color. Again, if you have too much flux, it's going to just bubble up and won't get a nice flat even finish on it. And you really don't need much solder. And I always start at the top and I work my way down. So whatever's left over, I can just pull off the edge and flick it off. A 4-sided vase cap is relatively straightforward to put on the top of your lamp. If you designed it properly, your panels should be slightly longer so that they actually fit inside the cap. If you don't and you have it sitting on the outside edge, then it's a little harder to get a nice even solder seam. So hopefully it's going to be the lamp's going to be a little smaller than the opening and it'll sit right inside there. Now what I have to do when I'm doing this is you want to get it level as much as possible. So basically I will place it on the lamp and then kneel down and just move it around till I get it at a spot where it seems like it's even all the way around. I'll then take and put a drop of solder to hold the base cap in place. This is just temporary. So I got that one done, and then I flip it over and I'll do the exact opposite side. And I think I have enough flux here, so I'm not going to bother fluxing it. So having done that, I can then flip it over and I can take a look at the inside. And if I can see that those circles on the inside are pretty much even all the way around the lamp, I know that I've put it on accurately. If I can see only part of a circle on one side and it's the complete circle on the other side, I know that it's not in the center. Another way that you can test to make sure that it's even is to actually put it on a lamp base. And then you can step back and you can see if it looks like it's horizontal. Four-sided lamps are pretty straightforward in that regard. Six-sided lamps are a little more challenging, and you often have to move it around a couple of times before you can get it just where you want it. So make sure that you only tack it on a couple of spots, because it's a lot easier to remove it if you haven't firmly attached it in there yet. So at this point, all I have to do now is solder these on. If I can get these middle seams, I will solder those on also. I'll get the four corners, and in this case, I can get those seams. And I will take it, I'll patina it, and then we'll try and figure out what we can do with this lamp once it's been assembled. Okay, so here's our finished project. I took it and I cleaned it up. I put black patina on it and put on a thin layer of wax, which is the way we like to finish off all of our pieces so they have a nice shine to them. And this one looks really nice on a four-sided base. I find that the four-sided Mission Arts and Crafts lamps look really nice on some of the four-sided bases that are available. I used a Yakagami glass. This is a really nice, it's called stipple glass. It really looks really nice in a lamp. You can actually put this on top of your pattern and cut through it, cut right on top of the pattern. But when you put the light on, the glass just has a beautiful glow to it. So you can put it on a base like this. Sometimes you will find that without adjusting the height of the shade, the base might be a little low. So these are called risers. And I actually put a 1-inch riser on top of this because I found that the lamp was sitting down too low on this. So that is certainly one thing you can do with this lamp. What I find these lamps are really good for is using an Arts and Crafts Mission style light fixture, which we sell ourselves through our Prairie stained glass website. And with this particular lighting fixture, we'll just attach this and show you how it looks. We can use this for either a wall sconce, and it comes with all the wiring attachments included. So, here you have the part that goes into your electrical box, the gnarled nuts that will hold it in place. And then we have these two square loops, which really add nicely to the look of the Arts and Crafts feel. And this can go on the wall, which often people have got some fairly pedestrian sconces. Maybe you want to make your own, have the special colors that you want, perhaps have a little different color selection that will fit in with your decor. It also can be used as a ceiling lamp. And so same thing, this goes into the box and you can use this as a ceiling lamp. Particularly nice in either a hallway or an entryway if you've got a small back entryway in your house and you don't want to have a large lamp. And of course you get a lot of light shining down this way. It really works well. Or if you're doing a larger version of this, also through our website, we have got these large ceiling canopies. And these are really nice for larger lamps, and we've got a number of samples that I'll show you. So that these are really nice in bedrooms or over a dining room table. And in a bedroom, the nice thing is you have your lamp in a reverse fashion so that you get most of the light sent up to the ceiling and bouncing off to give you a nice soft ambient light. Whereas if you reverse the lamp and hang it in a normal fashion, you get a lot more light over a dining room. So I just thought that this would be a good opportunity to show you some of the different things that are available out there in the marketplace. And thank you very much for watching the video, and we'll see you another time.